The diplomatic vessel Horizon drifted through space like a white dove in a forest full of wolves. Inside the ship, Captain Helen Morrison stood on the bridge and watched the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. Gateway 7 was the biggest neutral station in the galaxy, a place where hundreds of alien species came to talk instead of fight. Today, humanity needed the Galactic Council to listen. Helen touched the communication panel on her chair. "Daniel, are you ready?" In his quarters below the bridge, Daniel Carter adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform and looked at himself in the mirror. He had been preparing this speech for 3 weeks. Every word had been chosen carefully. Every pause had been practiced. He was Earth's best diplomat, and today he needed to be perfect. "I'm ready, Captain," Daniel said into the communicator. The Horizon docked with Gateway 7 without any problems. Helen watched as Daniel left the ship with 2 security officers. She wished she could go with him, but captains had to stay with their ships. All she could do was wait, and hope the Council would finally help them. Daniel walked through the massive corridors of the station. Aliens of every shape and size moved past him. Some looked like giant insects. Others were covered in scales or fur. Some were just clouds of gas held together by energy fields. After 15 years, Daniel was used to seeing them. When humanity first joined the Galactic Council, everything had seemed so strange. Now it just felt normal. The council chamber was enormous. It could hold representatives from over 500 species. Daniel walked to the center of the room and stood on the small platform reserved for speakers. Above him, in circular rows that reached up like a stadium, sat the aliens who made decisions for most of the galaxy. "Honored members of the council," Daniel began. His voice was calm and respectful. "I come before you today to request immediate action regarding attacks on human civilian vessels." A murmur went through the chamber. Some aliens leaned forward with interest. Others seemed bored. Daniel continued. "In the past month, 3 human colony ships have disappeared in the Outer Reach sector. We have evidence that the Varath swarm is responsible for these attacks. 217 human civilians are missing. We believe they are dead." The Varath representative stood up. It looked like a massive mantis with 4 arms and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. "The Outer Reach belongs to our breeding territories," it said in a clicking voice. "Your species was warned not to travel there." "The Outer Reach is open space according to galactic law," Daniel replied. "No single species can claim it." The Varath representative made a sound like laughter. "Galactic law is for species that matter." More murmurs filled the chamber. Daniel felt his anger rising but kept his face calm. Getting emotional would not help. "There's more," Daniel said. "The Krell Empire has seized 7 human mining operations in the barrier zone. They claim the asteroids belong to them, despite our registered claims being filed 2 years ago. And the HFY Collective has been jamming our communication networks for the past 6 weeks. A crystalline being that looked like a living diamond spoke up. Its voice sounded like music. "The HFY Collective merely tested the strength of your systems. If your networks are so easily disrupted, perhaps you should improve them." Daniel had expected this. For 15 years, humanity had played by the rules. They had joined the council with smiles and promises of peace. They had agreed to all the restrictions on military development. They had been good neighbors, and the galaxy had learned to see them as weak. "We request council protection under Article 7 of the Galactic Charter," Daniel said. "We are a registered member species being attacked by other members. The council has a duty to intervene." The vote came quickly. Daniel watched the display board as numbers appeared. Green meant yes. Red meant no. The board lit up like a Christmas tree, but almost every light was red. The vote was not even close. 412 species voted against helping humanity. Only 37 voted yes. The head of the council, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish, spoke in a tired voice. "The council has decided. Your petition is denied. This session is closed." Daniel stood on the platform for a moment, not moving. 15 years of being civilized. 15 years of following their rules. And this was the result. He walked back to the Horizon in silence. Helen met him at the airlock. "I'm sorry, Daniel," she said quietly. "Don't be," Daniel replied. "We knew this might happen." On the bridge, a message was waiting. It had come through the most secure channel Earth possessed. Helen opened it with her command codes. 2 words appeared on the screen. Protocol reversion. Helen felt something cold settle in her stomach. She had hoped it would not come to this. Get Admiral Cole on the line, she said to her communication officer. Maximum encryption. A minute later, Admiral Nathan Cole appeared on the main view screen. He was sitting in a dark room somewhere on Earth. Behind him, people were moving quickly, preparing for something big. Captain Morrison, Cole said, I assume you received the message. Yes, sir, Helen replied. The Council denied our petition. We expected they would, Cole said. His face showed no emotion. Humanity has been very patient. We have been very civilized. We have played by their rules and accepted their restrictions, and they have learned to see us as harmless. Cole leaned forward slightly. That ends now. Protocol reversion is active as of this moment. All pretenses are dropped. All restrictions are lifted. It's time the galaxy learned what humanity really is. What are your orders, sir? Helen asked. Return to Earth, prepare your ship for combat refit, and tell Daniel to prepare another speech for the Council. But this time he won't be asking for help. He'll be giving a warning. The screen went dark. Helen looked at Daniel, who had been standing quietly to the side. Did you know about protocol reversion? Helen asked. Daniel nodded slowly. Every human diplomat knows about it. We all hoped we would never have to use it. What exactly is it? For 15 years, humanity has been hiding its real strength, Daniel said. The galaxy thinks they know us. They think we're soft. They think we only have a few hundred small ships and no real weapons. They think we're weak because we prefer peace. Daniel's expression changed. For the first time since Helen had known him, he smiled. It was not a happy smile. They're about to learn that humans are not civilized because we're weak, Daniel said. We're civilized because we choose to be. And we just chose to stop. The horizon turned away from Gateway 7 and began its journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued their meetings, unaware that everything was about to change. They had denied humanity's petition for help. Soon they would understand their mistake. In the dark between stars, other human ships were already moving. Messages flew through secret channels. Installations that did not officially exist began powering up weapons that were supposed to be impossible. Fleets that were hidden under moons and inside asteroids started their engines. Humanity had been pretending for 15 years. The pretending was over. Now the galaxy would see what a species from a death world could really do when they stopped being nice. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked through the corridors of Redfort 7 and tried to remember the last time she had seen sunlight. The base was buried 3 kilometers under the surface of Mars, hidden beneath rock and ice and enough sensor-blocking material to make it invisible to any scanning technology the galaxy possessed. She had been underground for 6 years, commanding a facility that did not officially exist. The command center was massive. Rows of officers sat at their stations, monitoring systems that stretched across the solar system and beyond. On the main view screen at the front of the room, a map of human space glowed with thousands of markers. Each one represented something the Galactic Council did not know about. Kate stopped at the center platform and looked around at her officers. They were waiting for her to speak. She had been planning this speech for years, hoping she would never have to give it. Protocol reversion is now active, Kate said. Her voice was steady and calm. The diplomatic phase is over. For 15 years, we have pretended to be something we're not. Today, we stop pretending. She touched a control on the platform. The view screen changed, showing the registered human fleet. 300 small patrol ships, 20 diplomatic vessels, a handful of cargo haulers. This was what the Galactic Council believed humanity possessed. This is what they think we are, Kate said. Weak, harmless. A species that barely has enough ships to defend their own colonies. She touched the control again. The screen changed. New markers appeared by the thousands. Ships hidden in asteroid fields. Weapons platforms disguised as research stations. Military bases built inside moons and planets. The map lit up like a city at night. This is what we really are, Kate said. The officers stared at the screen. Some of them were seeing the full picture for the first time. Even in the military, security clearances kept information separated. Only a few people had ever seen everything at once, Kate continued. While the galaxy watched us build research stations, we were building weapons platforms. While they thought we were establishing agricultural colonies, we were constructing fleet bases. While they believed we accepted their restrictions on military development, we were developing weapons they cannot imagine. On the far side of the solar system, Lieutenant Jake Harrison prepared to leave Earth orbit. His cargo transport looked old and slow, exactly the kind of ship humanity was supposed to use. The hull was covered in dents and scratches. The engines put out a weak energy signature. Any alien scanner would see it and immediately dismiss it as unimportant. Jake sat in the pilot seat and ran through his pre-flight checks. Behind him, 20 crew members were strapped into their stations. None of them spoke. They all knew what was about to happen. Transport 7 Delta, you are cleared for departure, Earth Control said through the communication system. Acknowledged, Control, Jake replied. He pushed the engines to half power, and the ship began to move away from Earth. 2 hours later, when the ship was far from any traffic lanes or monitoring stations, Jake pressed a button on his console. All crew prepare for transformation. Warning lights flashed throughout the ship. Massive panels on the outer hull began to retract, folding away to reveal what was hidden underneath. Weapons emerged from concealed bays. The weak engines shut down and powerful military-grade drives came online. The dented, scratched hull was actually armor plating designed to absorb energy weapons. In less than 3 minutes, the cargo transport had transformed into a heavy destroyer. Jake looked at his tactical display and saw 50 other ships doing the same thing around him. They had all been hidden in plain sight, pretending to be harmless civilian vessels. "This is Commander Foster," a voice said over the fleet channel. "All ships report status." One by one, the ships checked in. The retaliation fleet was fully operational and ready for combat. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Commander Lisa Grant stood in the control room and watched the ice above her begin to crack. Massive doors that had been sealed for over a decade were finally opening. Through the gaps in the ice, she could see the black of space beyond. "All ships begin launch sequence," Lisa said. The dreadnoughts rose from their hidden bays like ancient monsters waking from sleep. Each one was over 2 kilometers long, covered in weapons that could destroy cities. The galaxy had told humanity that building ships this large was impossible with their technology. Humanity had built 20 of them. The ships cleared the ice and formed up in a perfect formation above Europa. Their engines glowed bright blue as they charged up for the jump to their assigned positions. Lisa looked at the tactical display in front of her. Each dreadnought had enough firepower to fight an entire fleet by itself. Together, they could take on any military force in the galaxy. And this was just one fleet. There were others hidden throughout human space. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Dr. Paul Martinez stood in his laboratory and looked at the weapon prototype in front of him. It was small, no bigger than a shoebox, but it contained technology that would make the galaxy's best scientists weep. "Are you sure about this?" his assistant asked. She was young and looked nervous. "The orders are clear," Paul said. "No more hiding. No more pretending our technology is limited." He activated the weapon. It hummed to life, creating a small gravitational field that bent space around it. Paul watched his instruments carefully. The power readings were perfect. The field was stable. This weapon could tear apart a battleship's hull like paper. "The galaxy evolved in relatively peaceful environments," Paul said, more to himself than to his assistant. They had time to develop slowly. They created technology for exploration and trade. Even their weapons are designed for limited conflicts, for honor duels and territory disputes. He deactivated the weapon and looked at his assistant. "Humanity crawled up from a death world. We fought each other for thousands of years. We built weapons designed to completely destroy our enemies. When we finally got to space, we did not just copy alien technology. We built on everything we had learned from killing each other." Paul smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "The galaxy is about to learn what that means." Admiral Cole sat in his office on Earth and composed the message that would change everything. He wrote it carefully, choosing each word with precision. This was not a threat. Threats implied uncertainty. This was a statement of fact. When he was satisfied, he sent it through every diplomatic channel humanity possessed. It went to the Verath Swarm, to the Krell Empire, to the Ashvari Collective, to every species that had attacked human interests or voted against them in the Council. The message was simple. Humanity has been civilized because we chose to be, not because we had to be. You have been attacking us because you believed we were weak. You were wrong. This is your only warning. Withdraw from all disputed territories immediately and provide full reparations for damages. If you refuse, you will learn why humanity's path to civilization was covered in blood. You have 72 hours. On Gateway 7, the Galactic Council received the message and read it with confusion and amusement. The Vareth representative made its clicking laugh. The Krell ambassador dismissed it as desperate bluffing. The Ashvari collective did not even bother to respond. They had seen humanity's registered fleet. They knew Earth's technology level. They understood human limitations. This message was clearly just an attempt to scare them into compliance. In the council chamber, species that had been making decisions for thousands of years discussed the human message. Some thought it was funny, others thought it was sad. None of them took it seriously. They did not know that human ships were already moving into position. They did not know about the weapons platforms or the hidden fleets or the technology that should not exist. They did not know that humanity had been carefully studying every species in the galaxy, learning their weaknesses, planning for this exact moment. The 72-hour countdown began. Humanity waited to see who would be smart enough to accept the warning and who would need to be taught a lesson. Admiral Kate Sullivan looked at the tactical display in Redford 7 and watched the markers move. Human forces were spreading out across known space like a net. Every potential target was covered. Every escape route was blocked. Humanity had spent 15 years preparing for this. Now they were ready. "What do you think will happen?" one of her officers asked quietly. Kate did not take her eyes off the display. "They'll refuse. They think we're bluffing. They'll learn the truth the hard way." She touched a control and the display zoomed out, showing the entire galaxy. So many species, so many worlds. For 15 years, humanity had been the new kids, the weak species that everyone could push around. That was about to change forever. The Vareth swarm thought humanity was bluffing. They had seen Earth's registered military and found it laughable. A species with only a few hundred small ships dared to threaten them. The Vareth had thousands of bioships, living vessels grown from their own genetic material. They had conquered 17 systems and destroyed dozens of species who stood in their way. The Swarm Queen sent her response to Earth's warning. It was simple and cruel. Come and die, soft things. 200 Vareth bioships gathered at the edge of human space near the colony world of New Haven. The ships looked like massive insects with armored shells and weapons that grew directly from their bodies. The fleet commander broadcast a message to New Haven, telling the humans they had 1 hour to evacuate before the colony was destroyed. On New Haven, the colonists ran to their emergency shelters. Children cried as their parents carried them underground. The colony had basic defenses, but nothing that could stop a Vareth battle fleet. All they could do was hide and hope Earth would send help in time. But Earth had already sent help. It had been there for 3 years, waiting in the dark. Commander Ryan Foster sat in the captain's chair of the battlecruiser Valiant and watched the Vareth fleet on his tactical display. His ship was in full stealth mode, invisible to every sensor the galaxy knew about. The Valiant and 12 other ships had been hiding in the asteroid field near New Haven since the colony was established. "All ships, prepare for attack pattern Delta," Ryan said calmly. "Weapons free on my mark." The Varath fleet moved toward New Haven like a swarm of locusts. They were so confident, so certain of their victory, they had no idea they were already surrounded. "Execute," Ryan said. The Valiant appeared in the center of the Vareth formation like a ghost becoming solid. Before the aliens could react, the ship deployed its gravitational disruptor. The weapon created a field that pulled at space itself, tearing at the molecular bonds that held matter together. 12 Vareth bioships simply came apart. Their organic hulls split open. Their internal organs spilled into space. The living ships screamed on every frequency before they died. The Vareth fleet panicked. Their formation broke as ships tried to scatter in every direction. But there was nowhere to run. Human ships appeared from all sides, dropping out of stealth with their weapons already firing. Fighter pilot Claire Murphy led her squadron through the chaos. Her fighter was small and fast, designed for close combat. She picked her target, a Vareth bioship that was trying to retreat, and locked onto it with her weapons. "Fox 3, Claire said calmly, using the old Earth military term for a missile launch. Her weapon hit the bioship in its engine section. But this was not a normal missile. The warhead burned at temperatures hot enough to turn metal into vapor. The Vareth ship did not explode. It simply ceased to exist, consumed by heat so intense it left nothing behind. Claire moved to her next target. Around her, the rest of her squadron was doing the same. They moved with perfect coordination, like dancers performing a routine they had practiced 1,000 times. The Vareth tried to fight back. Their weapons were biological, firing acid and toxins in living projectiles. Against most species, these weapons were terrifying. Against human ships, they were useless. Human armor was designed to resist chemical attacks. Human shields deflected the biological projectiles. The Vareth weapons had evolved to fight other organic species. They had never faced an enemy that built machines specifically to counter biological warfare. Ryan watched his tactical display as the Vareth fleet died. 17 minutes had passed since the first shot. Of the 200 bioships, fewer than 30 remained. Those were trying desperately to jump away, to escape into faster-than-light travel. "Don't let them leave," Ryan ordered. "I want none of them reporting back to their queen." Human ships moved to intercept the survivors. More gravitational disruptors tore through space. More superheated weapons turned living ships into clouds of ash. The Vareth had come to destroy a human colony. Instead, they found their own extinction. When the battle ended, the space around New Haven was filled with debris. Not a single Vareth ship had escaped. On the colony below, the settlers emerged from their shelters and looked up at the sky, not quite believing they were still alive. On Gateway 7, the Galactic Council received the battle footage. Captain Helen Morrison had sent it to them directly, with no commentary. Just the raw data showing exactly what had happened. The council chamber was silent as the footage played. Species that had fought wars for millennia watched in growing horror. The clinical efficiency of the human attack. The complete absence of hesitation or mercy. The overwhelming technological superiority. When the footage ended, the chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted at each other in 100 different languages. Some demanded an explanation. Others called for sanctions against humanity. A few simply sat in stunned silence. The Ashvari Collective's representative, the crystalline being that had mocked humanity before, spoke in its musical voice. But now the music sounded shaky. "How is this possible? Your technology should not be capable of this. Your military records show only basic weapons." Daniel Carter stood in the center of the chamber. He had returned to Gateway 7 with a very different message than his last visit. His face showed no emotion as he looked up at the hundreds of alien species watching him. "The council asked about our public military budget," Daniel said. "We answered truthfully. You asked about our registered weapons development. We described our civilian research. You asked about our defensive capabilities. We told you about our patrol fleet." He paused and looked directly at the Ashvari representative. "You never asked about classified programs. You never asked what we were building in secret. You never asked if we were telling you everything. You simply assumed we were weak because we chose to be peaceful." The Vareth representative, a different one than before since the previous ambassador had been recalled in disgrace, stood up. Its clicking voice was no longer amused. "You lied to the council. You hid your true military strength. This is a violation of the New Species Accords." "Show me which treaty we violated," Daniel replied calmly. "Quote me the specific article, because I have read every word of every treaty humanity signed, and nowhere does it say we must reveal our classified military programs to the council." Silence fell over the chamber. Daniel was right. The treaties required new species to register their fleets and report certain types of weapons development, but they did not require full disclosure of military secrets. Humanity had followed the letter of every law while completely ignoring the spirit of them. Admiral Cole appeared on the main view screen, his image 10 meters tall. He looked at the assembled council with cold eyes. "For 15 years, humanity played by your rules," Cole said. "We accepted your restrictions. We listened to your advice. We tried to be good members of this council. And what did we get? Our ships were attacked, our colonies were raided, our citizens were killed. When we came to you for help, you laughed at us." He leaned forward slightly. "So here are the new terms. Every species that has attacked human interests has 72 hours to withdraw from all disputed territories. You will provide full reparations for damages. You will sign non-aggression treaties with Earth. If you refuse, what happened to the Vareth fleet will happen to you." The Krell ambassador stood up. He was a massive reptilian being covered in scales that looked like armor. "The Krell Empire does not respond to threats from inferior species. We will not withdraw from the mining operations we have rightfully claimed. If you attack us, you will face the full might of the largest fleet in the galaxy." Cole smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Good. I was hoping someone would refuse. The Varath were just a demonstration. You will be the lesson." The screen went dark. Daniel looked around the chamber one more time. "The galaxy sees humanity as newcomers," Daniel said quietly. "Young, inexperienced. You think you know us because you've studied our art and literature. You've watched our entertainment and talked to our diplomats, but you've only seen the surface. You've only seen the face we chose to show you." He turned and walked toward the exit. "Humanity did not climb to the top of our food chain by being nice. We did it by being the most dangerous thing on our planet. We learned to be civilized later, much later. And civilization is not our default state, it's a choice we make every day." At the chamber doors, Daniel stopped and looked back. Some species evolved to cooperate. Some evolved to trade. Humanity evolved to survive on a world that was constantly trying to kill us. We learned to make tools and weapons from necessity. We learned to work together because we had to. We learned to think and plan and fight because anything less meant extinction. He opened the door. "You should have left us alone. Now you're going to learn what we really are." As Daniel left Gateway 7 and returned to the horizon, the council dissolved into arguments. Some species wanted to unite against humanity immediately. Others urged caution. A few started preparing to meet Earth's demands. But the Krell Empire made its decision quickly. They would not bow to human threats. They would teach these upstart primates a lesson. They sent orders to their fleet to prepare for war. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the intelligence from Mars. The Krell Empire had existed for over 8,000 years. They had conquered 200 star systems and dominated the galactic east. Their battle fleet was the largest in known space, with over 3,000 warships ranging from small destroyers to massive siege platforms. The Krell had never lost a war. They were absolutely certain they would not lose to humanity. The Krell refused to evacuate the 7 mining stations they had seized from human corporations. Their emperor sent a message to Earth that was both simple and insulting. "Come and take them back if you dare." General Aaron Blake received his orders in the command center of the dreadnought Prometheus. His mission was clear. Take back the mining stations and destroy the Krell fleet defending them. Show the galaxy that humanity did not make idle threats. "How many ships are we facing?" Aaron asked his tactical officer. "Long-range sensors show approximately 1,000 Krell warships defending the mining sector," the officer replied. "They're concentrated around their primary shipyard in the area. Intelligence suggests they're using the mining stations as bait, hoping we'll commit our forces to an attack so they can surround us." Aaron nodded slowly. The Krell strategy made sense. They expected humanity to bring a large fleet, maybe 300 or 400 ships, to take back the stations. Then the Krell would spring their trap and overwhelm the human forces with superior numbers. "How many ships do we have?" Aaron asked. 73, sir. Including the Prometheus and 6 other dreadnoughts." Around the command center, officers shifted nervously. 73 ships against 1,000. The numbers did not look good, but Aaron smiled. "Perfect. They're all concentrated in one place. We won't have to hunt them down." 6 hours later, the human fleet appeared directly above the Krell shipyard. They did not approach slowly or try to hide. They simply jumped out of faster-than-light travel in the middle of the enemy's defensive formation. The Krell were confused for exactly 3 seconds. Then Aaron gave the order. "All ships weapons free. Engage at will." The Prometheus opened fire first. Its main weapons were plasma cannons that generated temperatures comparable to the core of a star. The beams cut through the Krell ships like a knife through butter. Shields that were supposed to protect against energy weapons simply did not exist as far as human plasma was concerned. Armor that was supposed to be impenetrable melted and vaporized. Captain Nicole Brennan watched from the engineering deck as her weapon designs performed exactly as she had calculated. She had spent 5 years developing these plasma cannons, testing them in secret, refining them until they were perfect. Now she got to see them used in real combat. Power output is stable, one of her technicians reported. Heat dissipation is within acceptable limits. We can maintain continuous fire for another 20 minutes. Nicole nodded. 20 minutes would be more than enough. The Krell tried to return fire. Their weapons were powerful, designed to crack planets and destroy space stations. Against most enemies, Krell firepower was overwhelming. Against human shields, it barely made a dent. Human shield technology was different from anything the galaxy used. Instead of trying to absorb energy, human shields redirected it. Krell weapons hit the shields and their energy was channeled away, dispersed into space where it could not do any damage. It was like trying to punch water. The harder you hit, the more the impact spread out and weakened. Fighter ace Danny Rogers led his wing through the chaos of the battle. His mission was simple: eliminate the Krell carrier groups before they could launch their own fighters. He dove toward a massive Krell carrier, dodging defensive fire that filled space with deadly energy. "Blue Squadron, follow my lead," Danny said calmly. "Attack pattern Omega." His squadron split into 3 groups and came at the carrier from different angles. The Krell point defense systems tried to track them, but human fighters were too fast and too maneuverable. Danny fired his weapons at a specific point on the carrier's hull, a weak spot that intelligence had identified weeks ago. The missile hit exactly where he aimed. The carrier's hangar bay exploded from the inside, setting off a chain reaction that tore through the entire ship. Secondary explosions rippled across the hull as fuel and ammunition detonated. In less than 10 seconds, the carrier was gone. "One down," Danny said, moving to target 2. Around him, the rest of Blue Squadron was doing the same thing. They moved through the Krell fleet like sharks through a school of fish, taking out one target after another with lethal precision. The Krell realized they were losing. Their commanders tried to reorganize their forces, to create some kind of defensive formation, but human electronic warfare made that impossible. Every time a Krell ship tried to communicate with another, human systems jammed the signal or sent false information. Krell sensors showed targets that did not exist. Krell weapons locked onto friendly ships instead of enemies. The Krell fleet was not just being destroyed. It was being torn apart by its own confusion. 6 hours into the battle, the Krell shipyard took a direct hit from the Prometheus. The massive structure, which had been building warships for 300 years, broke apart and fell toward the planet below. As it burned up in the atmosphere, it created a light show that could be seen from space. The Krell fleet was reduced to scattered survivors running for their lives. Of the 1,000 ships that had started the battle, fewer than 100 remained. Those were retreating in every direction, desperate to escape. Aaron looked at his tactical display and nodded with satisfaction. "Let them go. They'll spread the word about what happened here." But the Krell Empire was not ready to surrender. They had been embarrassed, but they still had their greatest weapon, the World Ender. It was a siege platform the size of a small moon, mounting a cannon that could destroy planets. The weapon took a week to charge, but once fired, it could crack a world's crust and boil its oceans. The Krell Emperor gave the order. The World Ender would jump to Earth and destroy humanity's home planet. If the humans wanted war, they would get it. But they would not have a home to return to. The massive platform began its journey toward Earth, escorted by the last 200 ships of the Krell Grand Fleet. It would take 3 days to reach human space. The Krell used that time to prepare, to charge the weapon, to get ready for their revenge. They never made it. Commander Lisa Grant and her fleet from Europa intercepted them 3 light years from Earth. The Krell saw the human ships on their sensors and laughed. 20 human vessels against their World Ender and its escort fleet? This would be easy. Then Lisa activated the quantum destabilizer. Sam Tucker, the engineer who had designed the weapon, watched from his station as it powered up. The destabilizer was his life's work, a weapon that most scientists said was impossible. It created a feedback loop in any large power source, causing it to collapse in on itself. "Targeting the World Ender's main reactor," Sam said. Firing in 3, 2, 1, the weapon was invisible. No beam of light. No missile. Just a pulse of energy that traveled faster than light and hit the World Ender's reactor core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive platform began to shake. Its reactor was designed to generate enough power to destroy planets. Now all that power was turning inward, feeding back into itself. The world ender did not explode. It imploded. The reactor created a temporary singularity, a tiny black hole that lasted for less than a second. But that was long enough. The platform and everything within 1,000 kilometers was pulled into the singularity and crushed down to nothing. The Krell escort fleet watched in horror as their greatest weapon simply vanished. Then the singularity collapsed and released all the energy it had absorbed in one massive burst. Ships that were too close to the blast were vaporized. Those farther away were thrown across space like toys. Of the 200 Krell ships, exactly 0 survived. On Gateway 7, the Galactic Council watched the footage of the world ender's destruction. The chamber was completely silent. Every species present understood what they had just seen. Humanity had not just destroyed the Krell's greatest weapon. They had made it destroy itself. The message was clear. Humanity did not just have weapons to fight galactic powers. They had weapons to end them. The Ashvari Collective was the first to break. Their representative sent an urgent message to Earth agreeing to all terms. They would withdraw from human space immediately. They would pay reparations. They would sign any treaty humanity wanted. They just wanted the war to stop. The Vareth Swarm's new queen, who had taken over after the old queen was executed for incompetence, sent a similar message. She offered not just peace but alliance. She offered to provide intelligence on other species, to help humanity in any way possible, if only Earth would spare her people. Dozens of other species that had been considering testing humanity suddenly discovered urgent reasons to be friendly. Trade agreements were offered. Technology exchanges were proposed. Diplomatic missions were hastily arranged, but the Krell Empire refused to surrender. Their pride would not allow it. Their emperor swore that he would fight humanity to the last ship, to the last warrior. The Krell would never bow to a species they considered inferior. Admiral Cole gave them one more chance. One final warning: surrender now or face total war. The Krell Emperor's response was to send every remaining ship in the final battle would take place in empty space far from any inhabited worlds. Admiral Nathan Cole insisted on this. Whatever happened, civilian populations would not be caught in the crossfire. Humanity was not trying to commit genocide. They were trying to teach a lesson. The Krell Empire gathered its last 2,000 warships in the void between, a region of space so empty that the nearest star was 6 light-years away. Their emperor had made his choice. The entire empire would either win this battle or cease to exist. Admiral Cole commanded from the battleship Endeavour, positioned at the center of the human formation. Around him, 300 human vessels prepared for combat. To any observer, the numbers looked terrible. 300 against 2,000. The Krell should win easily, but numbers were not everything. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole," he said over the fleet-wide channel. "The Krell have chosen extinction over surrender. We will honor their choice. Today the galaxy learns what happens when you push humanity too far. Weapons free. Engage." The battle began at extreme range, with both fleets launching missiles at each other from thousands of kilometers away. The Krell fired first, releasing a wave of warheads that numbered in the tens of thousands. It was a wall of explosions moving through space. Enough firepower to destroy a small fleet 3 times over. Every single missile was intercepted human point defense. Systems tracked and destroyed the Krell weapons before they could reach their targets. Lasers moved at the speed of light, striking missiles with perfect accuracy. Railguns fired tiny projectiles at incredible speeds, creating clouds of shrapnel that shredded incoming warheads. Electronic warfare systems hacked into the missiles' guidance systems and made them detonate early. Not one Krell missile reached a human ship. Then, humanity stopped playing defense. Captain Ryan Foster's battle group unleashed the temporal disruptors. These weapons created bubbles of altered time around enemy ships. Inside the bubbles, time moved much faster. Krell vessels aged centuries in seconds. Their hulls rusted and crumbled. Their systems failed from age. Their crews died of old age before they realized what was happening. 20 Krell ships simply fell apart, turned into ancient wrecks in the span of a heartbeat. Other human ships fired antimatter torpedoes. When these weapons hit their targets, they did not just explode. They created matter-antimatter reactions that released more energy than a small star. Krell ships did not get destroyed. They got erased from existence, leaving nothing behind but expanding spheres of radiation. But the most effective weapon was not any piece of technology. It was human coordination, Every human ship was connected through quantum communication networks. Messages traveled instantly with no lag or delay. Every human captain could see what every other captain saw. Every tactical decision was shared across the entire fleet in real time. The Krell fought as individual commanders seeking glory. Each captain made their own decisions, trying to win honor for themselves. They got in each other's way. They competed for targets. They fought like 2,000 separate ships. Humanity fought as one single organism. When one ship engaged an enemy, 3 others moved to support it without needing orders. When the Krell tried to concentrate their forces, human ships were already repositioning to counter the move. The humans predicted what the Krell would do before the Krell themselves knew. It was not a battle between ships. It was a battle between minds, and the human collective intelligence was faster and smarter than any Krell commander could. Match Colonel Megan Hayes led the boarding action against the Krell flagship Emperor's Wrath. Her assault ship punched through the flagship's shields and latched onto its hull like a parasite. Cutting torches burned through the armor, creating an entry point. "All Marines, go, go, go," Megan shouted as the doors opened. Human soldiers in powered armor poured into the Krell ship. They moved through the corridors like a precision machine, using tactics refined through centuries of human-on-human warfare. The Krell defenders were brave and strong, but they had never faced enemies like this. Human armor was not just protection. It multiplied the wearer's strength and speed. It had built-in weapons and medical systems. It made human soldiers faster and stronger than the Krell warriors they faced. But more importantly, human tactics were brutal and efficient. The Marines did not charge forward looking for honor. They used cover. They suppressed enemy positions with constant fire. They threw grenades around corners and used drones to scout ahead. They fought smart, not just hard. 20 minutes after the boarding action began, Megan and her team reached the bridge. The Krell Emperor himself stood there, surrounded by his personal guard. He was massive, covered in ceremonial armor, holding a weapon that looked like it could cut a human in half. "I will not surrender to you," the Emperor growled. "I am Krell. I will die before I bow." Megan raised her weapon. "Then die." The fight was over in seconds. The Emperor's guards fell to precise shots from the Marines. The Emperor himself tried to charge, but powered armor made the Marines too fast. He swung his weapon at Megan, but she simply stepped aside and shot him twice in the head. The Emperor of the Krell Empire fell to the deck, dead before he hit the ground. "Bridge secured," Megan reported. "The Emperor is down." The battle in space was already ending. Of the 2,000 Krell ships, fewer than 300 remained. Those were trying to retreat, to escape into faster-than-light travel. Admiral Cole let them go. They would return to Krell space and tell everyone what had happened. The war was over. The Krell Empire had fallen. 6 months later, the Galactic Council met again on Gateway 7. But the atmosphere was completely different now. When Admiral Kate Sullivan entered the chamber to present humanity's new position, there was absolute silence. No laughter, no dismissive comments, just fear and respect. "Humanity will remain a member of the Galactic Council," Kate said. Her voice echoed in the quiet chamber. "But under revised terms, all military restrictions on human development are permanently lifted. We will maintain whatever forces we deem necessary for our security. Any future aggression against human interests will be met with immediate and total retaliation." She looked around at the assembled species. "But let me be clear. Humanity does not want to conquer the galaxy. We do not want to rule over other species. We simply want to be left alone to grow and explore in peace." Kate paused. "Any species that wants to trade with us, to share knowledge, to build genuine friendships, will find humanity to be fair and generous partners. We remember those who stood by us, and we reward loyalty." Her expression hardened. "But any species that tests our patience will learn why Earth's path to civilization was so violent. We are not aggressive by nature, but we are very, very good at war when we need to be." The Council voted on humanity's new terms. The vote was unanimous. 487 species voted yes. 0 voted no. There were no abstentions. The Krell Empire was placed under human supervision. Their military was disbanded. Their government was restructured. They would spend the next century paying reparations and learning to exist peacefully. It was a harsh peace, but it was better than extinction. The final scene took place on Earth in a park that had once been in Washington, D.C. Daniel Carter sat on a bench, watching children play on the grass. The sun was warm on his face. Birds sang in the trees. It looked like paradise. Helen Morrison, now retired from active service, sat down next to him. They watched the children in comfortable silence for a while. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Helen asked quietly. Daniel thought about the question. About the ships destroyed. About the Krell soldiers who had died. About the Emperor lying dead on his own bridge. About the fear in the council chamber when Kate delivered humanity's ultimatum. "We did what was necessary," Daniel said finally. "The galaxy needed to understand something about us. We're not civilized because we're weak or naive. We're civilized because we choose to be every single day, despite everything we're capable of." He watched a young girl help a boy who had fallen down. That choice means something because it's real. Because we know what the alternative looks like and we reject it. Not because we can't be violent, but because we prefer not to be. Helen nodded slowly. The Krell would never have stopped if we had shown weakness. The Verath would have kept raiding our ships. The galaxy would have continued to see us as prey. Now they see us as predators, Daniel said, which is closer to the truth. Humans are predators who learn to cooperate. That's what made us successful on Earth. That's what makes us dangerous out here. Above them, a ship passed overhead, heading for orbit. Earth's traffic had increased dramatically in the past 6 months. Species that had ignored humanity before now wanted to establish embassies and trade agreements. Everyone wanted to be friends with the species that had defeated the Krell Empire. "What comes next?" Helen asked. "The harder part," Daniel replied. "Winning a war is easy compared to winning peace. Now we have to build real relationships with species that fear us. We have to prove that our capacity for civilization is genuine, not just a mask over our capacity for violence." He stood up, ready to leave. "But I think we can do it. Because the truth is, most humans prefer peace. We like building things more than destroying them. We like making friends more than making enemies. We just needed